Welcome to PixelTunes Radio, a podcast where we have fun talking about video games and video game music. I'm Mike.
Mi amo Eduardo.
Really, you gotta be different on the 1 year anniversary.
All right. I'm Ed.
I already said who I am.
Maybe,
You're
Spanish.
already screwing this up. God.
You've already lost our British and our French listeners from the past couple episodes. May as well lose the Spanish ones, too.
Yeah. So, this is our 1 year anniversary episode. Literally, it's coming out on the exact day 1 year ago.
January 28th, 2014 was episode number 1 of PixelTunes Radio.
True story.
I don't think anybody probably listened to it on that day at all.
We did.
Maybe a friend or two, but I hope a lot more people are listening to it 1 year later.
I think
episode 27.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've got a pretty decent listener base.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I guess we should probably share how the show got started, I think.
I was a huge fan of the Legacy Music Hour. They're another video game podcast, and they had been going for about 3 years or so, and they had announced that they were going to stop doing shows. They used to have a weekly show, and it was great. And they stopped, and then it was, probably about a month later, and I was really kind of feeling the lack of...
Need your fix?
Yeah, it was the kind of lack of those guys.
Your arm.
And I was like, you know what? I know a lot about video game music. I've got radio broadcast experience. I can do this, So, we had just started hanging out probably a couple months before that.
True.
And so I remember I was at my parents' house one day, and the thought just dawned on me. I was like, why don't we see if we could do a podcast together? So I texted you, and you were like, yeah, dude, I've been meaning to do that for a long time. Yeah. So we got together at your place, and we took us like about half an hour, 45 minutes just to come up with a name for the show.
The name and the concept and everything.
Yeah, so the name stuck, and I really like it. And we got our friend Brian to come up with the artwork for it. Yeah. So things just went from there.
PixelTunes logo.
Yeah, we've gone through a lot of changes behind the scenes over time. We used to record in Mike's tiny apartment, and now we have a whole office dedicated to PixelTunes Radio, as I'm sure you've seen on pictures on Facebook. So,
right too.
We are glad that we are able to keep going with this. We've brought you a year of video game music and hope to bring you many more years to come. We thank you guys for all the love and support you've given us over the past year.
Last episode, just to go back a bit, we had played a bunch of really pretty obscure NES tracks, but by some really amazing composers, and one of the composers actually listened to the podcast, and that was Alberto Jose Gonzalez. He actually gave us some insight into the game that we had played, which was Asterix for the Nintendo, and so we thought we'd share with you guys his post for those of you who are not on the Facebook group.
So one of the points that we had brought up during the podcast was that even though top-loading NES units were compatible with some PAL games, for some reason in particular, Asterix crashed. It didn't work very well after a little while. Mike had looked up on the internet about why, and we came up with the V-blank refresh rate, that 50 hertz versus 60 hertz weren't compatible. So we, discussed that on the show, and Alberto Jose Gonzalez was gracious enough to visit our Facebook group, and he actually clued us in on the real reason why Asterix didn't work very well. So I'll, read what he said on our Facebook page, and then we'll kind of break it down for you in layman's terms and kind of go into it a little bit further. First off, he wanted us to know that he also drew the sprites and programmed the sound driver for both Smurfs and Asterix for the
Nintendo,
NES, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I knew he had done some graphic work in the past, but I didn't know he specifically worked on those games. Mm-hmm. So you're both looking at Alberto Gonzalez's visuals and you're hearing his music at the same time, which is really cool. So I'm going to quote what he said to us. He says, "The reason why Asterix doesn't work in NTSC is not exactly for being on a specific sync, but it's related. For the same CPU speed in PAL, you have 20% more CPU available for each frame because there are less frames per second, which is 50 frames versus 60 frames. At NTSC speed, the game simply hasn't enough CPU cycles to execute an entire game frame. Of course, being an exclusive PAL, we took some advantage of the extra CPU. For example, dumping the main character sprite from ROM to VRAM at each frame to have a smoother animation." So basically what that means is, in European countries that use PAL, they only display at 50 frames per second versus 60 frames per second in Japan and US, which uses the NTSC. What that means is the NES doesn't need to display as many frames per second. so it doesn't need as much power to display those frames. So they were able to use 20% more processing power in the NES to make the game run smoother, to have the sprites be a little bit more animated. It just all around made the game a little bit better. So when you're using a European cartridge on a NTSC 60 frame per second top loader, it's basically taxing the processor too much.
Right.
You're trying to run a game that's looking for 20% of that extra CPU power and not finding it. So when it tries to run these codes in the game, it just doesn't have the power to, and everything just crashes.
Just like that, with that noise and everything.
So thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez, for stopping by. Thank you for the kind words about the show. And we're glad that we could clear this up for the listeners so now you guys know why Asterix doesn't work.
Yeah.
On a top loader.
I don't think I would have ever, a year ago, ever thought that. I mean, I've met composers before, like at MagFest and stuff, but I don't think I would have ever had an online conversation with a composer before about this stuff before PixelTunes.
Yeah, it is really cool.
Yeah,
so we were very happy to have a from the horse's mouth kind of an explanation from somebody who actually worked on the game itself. So that's
Pretty
great.
cool.
Thank you very much. Today's theme is not really a theme at all.
No theme.
We're taking this opportunity as an anniversary show to celebrate a little bit. We're doing a free pick. So this is Mike and Ed kind of taking some of our favorite tracks over the years since we've started playing video games and just kind of give you guys some extra insight as to...
We're going off the rails.
Yeah, what our tastes are. So we've got a ton of really, really good music coming up. None of it fits an exact theme. A lot of it's some stuff that might not fit into themed shows. So it's our opportunity to kind of give you stuff that you might not hear on other episodes.
True story.
So our first pick is from Little Nemo the Dream Master for the NES, and this is Mike's pick. So why don't you tell us why you picked this one?
I love this game, first off. This is one of my favorite games on the Nintendo. In fact, I almost want to just quit right now and just go play it.
You know, Capcom's original name for the game was going to be Tiny Candy Tosser, but it sounded too graphically sexual.
Seriously?
No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say. It's so Tiny Candy Tosser. No, this game is based on the Little Nemo animated movie that was supposed to come out. And from what I understand about the movie, the game came out before the movie in the United States. There's a huge history about the movie and like the delays and problems that the movie had. A lot of the characters that are in the game, like first level, you run into this character named Flip. And the funniest part about that is, it's just this like little green guy who shows up, kind of wobbles over to you and he's like, hey, you can use your candy and you can get, free the animals.
I always pictured him sounding like Kermit the Frog too, so that's an excellent voice.
Perfect. And he was like, throw this candy at the animals and you can capture them. And then he ends it with, by the way, my name is Flip. Like, I always thought that was like the funniest thing. like
they forgot to say his name in the program.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh crap, we gotta add another line.
We gotta add his name in. Like, how funny would it be if you walked up to a complete stranger and you were like, hey, if you go through that door, you can get the bagel if you ask somebody for cream cheese. By the way, my name is Ed. Like,
it's so backwards.
So good. Oh, I love it. So this game is exactly like I said. You're playing this character named Nemo, and he basically goes off to Dreamland when he falls asleep. And you go through, it's kind of like Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, where like everything is way, way, way bigger than you in most cases.
Yeah.
All the level design here is excellent in the game.
And it's also one of the games where the main character by himself is almost completely powerless.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you need to use the help of the characters that you
buddies,
give candy to use their abilities. So
there's all different
kept the game
kinds of
very
animals.
fresh all the way through.
Oh,
you
absolutely.
Kept meeting new animals and gaining their abilities.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's like the bee, there's the gorilla, there's
That gorilla,
the fish.
Man. That gorilla is like DK before DK Country.
Yeah.
His animation is almost identical.
Pretty much. It's you meet a lot of different animal buddies, and basically you capture them when you feed them this candy, which is probably not good for animals.
Candy tosser.
Yeah. And so you go through the game, and basically there's these little cutscenes back and forth where your mom is just like, get back to bed, Nemo. And then you go back to bed, you go off to Dreamland. And one thing I really like about the game is the music always fits each level, which is really cool. Like the toy level with the trains and stuff, it's very bombastic and just really uplifting and fun. And then you're in the clouds and like everything is really like jazzy and bright. When you're in the water, everything is very like kind of lurking and like really like gentle. And so I really like how the composer Junko Tamiya worked on this soundtrack. One thing that I wanted to comment on is when you're going through the levels, right after those cutscenes start playing, you'll see Nemo run off the bed, And so the sound effects are perfect for this because you'll just hear him like doop 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 doop, and then you hear the jump, the whip, when he lands in the bed. Love that.
Yeah.
There's just so many like really cool touches on this soundtrack. This track in particular, Nightmare World, is the last level. You actually get a weapon in this stage. I think you meet the princess or something like that, and she's like, here, take this staff. It's like this nightmare staff or something, or dream staff. I can't remember. But basically, you finally get an actual weapon to use. You could charge it up like a Mega Buster type sort of thing, and it shoots like an angled shot at enemies that are clearly like designed to be able to be hit at an angle in most cases. So that's kind of good that they did that level design-wise. Just this level, you get the sense of dread, and it's a different tone for the other tracks. The other tracks are very uplifting, very fun, very free, and this last track for this last world is very like serious, but at the same time, it's like, you know, stuff's going down. You know what I mean?
I agree, definitely.
Yeah.
It just really kind of, after hearing all that uplifting music and this music starts to play in the stage, you're like, oh, okay, this is where it's going down. All right, okay, I get it now. Junko Tamiya is also, she's very good at doing that stuff too, especially in Bionic Commando, which is one of my favorite games of all time. You know, you'll hear very uplifting music during like the town stages or some less dangerous levels at the beginning of the game, but then once you get towards the end of the game, the music is like all mids and lows, and it's just very, very serious sounding. So she's very good at that. I would never have guessed after listening to Little Nemo and Bionic Commando that they were composed by the same person. I know some of the music from Bionic Commando was arranged, but a lot of it was original, and even the original stuff, they just don't sound anything alike. I was completely shocked that they were both from the same person.
She actually used the audio engine that was designed by Yoshihiro Sakaguchi for all her NES games. So
yeah, most Capcom did.
She said that she has composed songs on a keyboard using software on actually an MSX computer. Then the music is converted over to hex code to work with the engine, and so she relied on FM sound sources for games like Strider, and she also used PCM samples for Bionic Commando for the NES.
So let's get on with the music. This is
Little Nemo the Dream Master, Nightmare World stage from Junko Tamiya.
Enjoy.
Welcome back. That was Maniac Mansion, Dave's theme.
Man, I love that game and I love that soundtrack. I remember it was 5th grade.
Okay.
I was playing this game all the time. I had gotten like the strategy guide from Nintendo Power or whatever, so I kind of knew how to get through it pretty well.
They had a strategy guide for that game?
No, I think it was like an article in Nintendo Power that kind of
Okay.
gave you a walkthrough of how to do some stuff, but I was figuring out a lot on my own.
Yeah.
And so I had a friend, I don't remember which friend it was, but he was, into video games too. And
It was Billy.
We would borrow games back and forth sometimes. We'll just call him Billy for fun.
Good old Billy.
So I remember really, really liking the Maniac Mansion soundtrack. And, because even then I was really into video game music. So I remember I was talking this game up to my friend Billy. And I was like, you should really borrow this game. It's really cool, blah, 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 blah. He had Nintendo Power too, so he saw the article on it, and he was like, all right, I'm kind of interested. I'm like, you gotta listen to the soundtrack. The music is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. Talking the music up. So he borrows the game. He had it for 4 or 5 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And he gave it back to me, and I was like, so what'd you think of the game? And he's like, the game was pretty good. And I was like, well, what do you think of the music? And he's like, I didn't really like it. And I just remember feeling so let down.
You know what the worst part is, though? Right after he said that, he was like, by the way, my name is Billy.
Probably. Mr. Flip. Billy the Flip.
Billy the Flip.
So I was kind of upset. And then later on in life, I'm listening to the Maniac Mansion soundtrack still. And so now I see, people talking about George Sanger, who composed the music for the NES version of Maniac Mansion, and talking about what a great composer he was and how everybody likes the Maniac Mansion soundtrack. So it was very inclusive for me. I felt like it came full circle, and now other people can like this soundtrack too.
I'm not a big fan of the game, though. The music's great.
Well, it's not your kind of game, so I
Yeah.
can totally...
Yeah.
The game is a point-and-click adventure.
Yeah, I think the big thing with people's opinions on games is there's a lot of people who are just like, that game sucks, but they either, one, can't give a reason why, or two, they say that the game sucks, but what they really mean is, I don't like the game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
And so I think a lot of people take that to heart. Like when I say Castlevania Lords of Shadow sucks, it's because it does. And so I got I get into arguments, like forum arguments with like these people on like the Castlevania Facebook page, and it's just like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like I just gave you opinions as to why I feel the way I do. And so I think with Maniac Mansion, it was just not my type of game.
It's very slow-paced.
Yeah.
It's not an action game at all. The original PC version was one of the first games to use the Scum engine,
Right.
which paved the way for, all those point-and-click adventures that had come after it from LucasArts,
Right.
and are still influencing very popular games today, like the Walking Dead series, the Homestar Runner games, which came out on
Yep.
WiiWare. Like there's
Phoenix Wright.
Yeah, Wolf Among Us. They all have
Right.
that kind of...
Day of the Tentacle, like all that stuff.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Day of the Tentacle was the sequel to Maniac
Right,
Mansion.
that's
so
right.
That sums that all up there.
Yeah.
And even the Sam & Max games, which came out not too long ago.
That's right, Sam and Max.
So just a fantastic legacy that games like Maniac Mansion kind of brought forth after they came out.
Mm-hmm.
George Sanger has composed over 200 games.
Wow.
And so some of his notable works include Wing Commander, Loom, which was another game based on the Scum engine. He did Funhouse and Home Alone for the NES.
Oh God.
Funhouse actually has a fantastic soundtrack.
Home
The game
Alone.
itself is not that great. Home Alone was terrible, and the music wasn't that great either, but we'll kind of let him slide. Because when
He
you
was
compose,
drunk.
when you compose 200 games, you're allowed a couple bad. You know what I mean?
He was drunk.
He also did RPM Racing, Faceball 2000 for the Super Nintendo, and then later on went on to like The Seventh Guest, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. He composed the
Zombies
music
Ate My
for-
Neighbors had a great soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly. And he composed the music for like the Seen It, the DVD games.
Oh, did he really?
All the music for that stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And nowadays, he's actually composing music for slot machines that you would find in Las Vegas.
Slot machines have music?
Oh yeah, they have different themes. Like you can have a country themed slot machine, and it would be the music that would kind of like attract you to the game. It would play sporadic music every once in a while, and then when you win, the sound effects, and it would have little stingers of music here and there.
Right.
So he's working for a company that does slot machines, and he's making differently themed audio for slot machines. It's
That's pretty
cool.
wacky.
Yeah, he would compose his music and work on his music with Team Fat. He's also known as the Fat Man, and you can check his stuff out at www.fatman.com.
Is he actually fat?
He's not fat at all. He's actually pretty thin.
All right then.
So
they call me the tiny man.
Exactly. What I really like about the Maniac Mansion music is it's got such a rock and roll aesthetic to it. It's probably one of the first games out there where you can imagine, like, okay, this is bass, this is, you can envision a band on stage actually playing these songs. The different characters in Maniac Mansion all have different abilities, and so you'd get kind of a more nerdy character with a little more of a classical theme to it, or Michael, who was kind of like a suave photographer, would have kind of like a jazzy urban flair to it. So this was Dave's theme. Dave was the main guy whose girlfriend got kidnapped by aliens, and so it's kind of like just a general surf rock riding in the summer with the top down kind of feel to it. It's a very kind of carefree rock song.
Just a really good bouncy rock
Just keeps
song.
going, man.
Yeah.
Like guitar solos and little breakdowns here and there, and the music engine they used wasn't that fantastic. It doesn't use arpeggios. It doesn't have very rounded sounds to it. It's very basic kind of brunt force channel manipulation with the music. But he just wrote such good tracks with it. It just really, really stands out from the rest of the stuff. So, Maniac Mansion, I'll probably play some more tracks from it in the future, but that was Dave's theme.
Good stuff.
We're moving on to going back from the way past from Maniac Mansion to present day. The next game we're going to play music from is called Skyforce 2014. And this is a mobile game that was released only for Android and iOS. So this is a vertical shoot 'em up. It's a free-to-play game, actually. You don't have to pay any money to download it and start playing it.
But is it paid to win?
Not at all.
Oh, that's good.
Essentially, as you go through the game, it kind of reminds me of like Dodonpachi or a lot of the other older like Rising or Cave games, where once you blow enemies up, you get little icons, and those icons will gravitate towards your ship, and that will increase your score. But in this game, stars come out of the enemies. And so the more stars you collect, then you can buy power-ups going forward. And for a free-to-play game, it does have ads every once in a while, but very infrequently, and they don't interrupt the gameplay at all. It's only when you go back to the menu after you complete a stage. The amount of stars that you get per stage allows you to upgrade pretty rapidly. As the game goes on, progress versus how you get power-ups slows down a little bit. So for $3, you can get a star doubler.
Okay.
And I played the game so much that $2.99 was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's extremely well put together. It's extremely smooth. There's no slowdown in the game whatsoever. All the graphics are 3D. It's not just lousy sprites thrown in like a lot of the other shooters made by independent developers are. The game is tons of fun. The music is out of this world. So it's called Skyforce 2014 because it's released as the 10th anniversary of Skyforce, which came out in 2004. So the music was originally composed by Jacek Dojwa, and he's a Polish composer. It's a Polish development studio. And so it was later remixed by Adam Skorupa and Przemok Zeliasz-Hoang. And I'm hoping I get these Polish names correct because they're very difficult to pronounce. They don't sound anything like they're read as. So if you're Polish, please let me know that I'm doing a good job if you know Polish. So anyways, the music is great. It's got kind of a modern dancey dubstep kind of feel on the back with some retro style keyboard lead synths. The music is almost impossible to find. I had to actually go into the game itself and extract the audio files out of the game. You can't find that on YouTube. Wow. You can find it obviously by playing the game, but I'm just using a little bit of my geek skills to get music out of some stuff.
You nerd.
So this is technically the first stage theme. There are 9 stages in the game. There's 4 main in-game pieces, and this is the first of them, and this is the first song you would hear as you're playing through the first official stage in the game. Okay. I really, really recommend you guys download this game if you like shoot 'em ups and you're looking for a good game to play on your iPad or your iPhone or your Android device. It's a lot of fun. We'll throw up some links to some gameplay and maybe to the actual website that the developers are from that worked on the game.
It's not on Windows Mobile.
No, not on Windows Mobile. Because there's nothing on Windows Mobile.
It's a pass for me.
You get like Angry Birds on Windows Mobile.
That's not true. There's some really good games on Windows Mobile, actually.
Grab Patty's iPad.
Oh, whatever.
Anyways, let's get into the music. This is Skyforce 2014 from Jacek Dojwa, Adam Skorupa, and Przemok Zeliasz-Hoang.
In this episode of Ace Attorney,
Phoenix faces his toughest challenge yet, trying to defend his courtroom helper, Maya Fey. Let's watch as the trial unfolds. Court is now in session. Mr. Wright, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. She's guilty.
Phoenix, what? Why would you say that?
This trial is all about you. And in all honesty, this isn't a trial. It's an intervention.
Wait, what?
Those people in the courtroom, just cardboard cutouts. Basically, we're tired of listening to your grating voice, having to deal with babysitting your stupid baby cousin Pearl. Really, I just want your sister to come back from the dead. At least Mia was a somewhat likable character.
I can't believe you'd say this.
Oh my god, there she goes again with the crying and the whining.
Edgeworth, not you too.
Yes, I'm afraid so. You're so dreadfully awkward and boring that nobody around here likes you or takes you seriously.
I know you're only around because you're silly and quirky, but really, you've got to go.
Well, I'm sold. Guilty. Go home, Maya. Nobody likes you.
Wow, Phoenix! Phoenix!
And that ends that. Tune in next time for Turnaround Turnabout Turn Turn, where Detective Gumshoe quits the force and becomes a permanent member of Phoenix's attorney team. Mia Fey returns from the dead, but only as a ghost for the 400th time, and the judge gets scurvy.
All right, that was from Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
Objection!
No.
Sustained.
That was a track called Cornered, and that was by Naoto Tanaka.
Objection!
Well, it was. He composed the DS version of it.
Yes,
he
but
arranged
actually,
the DS version.
from Mega Man 6 onwards, he goes by the name Akemi Kimura.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Objection sustained.
Okay, all right. Wait.
I'm winning.
Yeah, okay. And then Masakazu Sugimori. Ace Attorney is a series on the Nintendo DS. It started on the Game Boy Advance. It's basically a point-and-click adventure where you are going from place to place and you're playing this lawyer, this hotshot lawyer named Phoenix Wright, who's actually not so hotshot. He's actually pretty terrible as a lawyer.
He needs help.
He needs help. Yeah, let's put it that way. He basically started off as a brand new lawyer in this game, and he really hadn't had too much experience. And his, I guess, boss, Mia Fey, ends up getting killed. And so then her sister comes in.
We're just full of spoilers today.
And she's basically like, well, you heard her. you heard her. So, basically she joins forces with him and they go around, they solve mysteries and stuff. And it's a really fun game. I have the first 3 games for the DS. I haven't checked out the Miles Edgeworth spin-off game. I heard that's really good.
I heard it's brilliant.
Yeah. It's just a really fun game. And the music is great. It knows when to get you pumped up. It knows when, you're in the trial, when you really lay on the brakes to somebody, or the bricks. The brakes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the brakes.
Throw the book at him.
Yeah, just throw the book at him, yeah. And so the game knows when to turn up the volume on the songs and to get pumped up and energized. And that's when this track Cornered plays, is basically when you've really kind of found out, that's it, haha.
Yeah.
I've got you.
And like you're saying before, it's a really good kind of cross between a visual novel and a point-and-click adventure. Because with a visual novel, you're basically just making decisions based on what people tell you, and it's almost like a choose-your-own-adventure kind of deal.
True.
But with this, you really have to collect the evidence that's entered into the courtroom and then inspect them and then really pore over all the details to find out where the fault in the defendant's
defense.
Yeah, basically to point out the flaws in the defense, in the courts. So, and it's kind of what makes Ace Attorney fun, is that you have to pay attention, but the animation and the sound and the music is so engrossing that it really feels powerful. You know, they know when you say, you know, like hold it or objection, and those large iconic words pop up on the screen. It really makes you feel like the decision you've made is an important and powerful one. Yeah. And so a lot of people that don't really enjoy visual novels or point-and-click adventures can really get into this game because you really feel rewarded for the choices and the decisions you make throughout it.
Yeah, this is probably one of the only series that I played through that, you know, with this type of gameplay style. Because me, I'm all about like getting into stuff right away. Like RPGs, I really like when the game starts off like Final Fantasy VII, for example, which is just like, you know, here's a little 2-minute clip, and then, oh, guess what, we're fighting. Yeah. Like, those are the type of games that I really enjoy. Anything that's like really long-winded, that's got like 20-minute cutscenes in the beginning, I'm just like, oh my god, I just want to play, you know?
And it's nice that Phoenix Wright breaks the game up into multiple court cases too.
Right.
So it's like reading a series of short stories instead of trying to plow through a 400-page novel, which a lot of people kind of find intimidating sometimes.
Very true. And it's very pick up and play.
Yeah.
The whole series is very pick up and play, which is really good because it's the perfect game designed for a system like the DS.
Right. And so this particular track that we played was called Cornered, which is exactly what happens when the defendant is cornered, when there's like, you know, he's on the ropes, you've almost got him, you just need to probably make a few more powerful judgments on the evidence that you have to finally win the court case.
I was really bad at like sometimes I would know if it was like brutally obvious like what to do, but there were times when seriously, especially in the later games in the series, I had no clue.
You have to make some weird connections,
right? And so like I would basically go through and just touch everything and then like present it and be like, what about this? And be like handing them like a bowl of nachos, and they're like,
judge will be like,
I like
what are you
nachos,
doing, Phoenix?
By the way, my name is Judge. You know, like that sort of thing.
Oh, sweet mother of pearl.
So, no, we're not talking about Pearl.
That's right, she's in the game too.
She's dumpy.
Yeah.
The whole Faye family in this Phoenix Wright game has this little girl. Her name is Pearl Faye, and she is like the most obnoxious character in the game, who's just obnoxious.
Yeah, so. And that's the thing with a lot of Japanese visual novels too, is the characters are extremely exaggerated. I mean, anybody who's watched a comedic anime knows that character exaggeration is kind of a huge trope in Japanese media, so that you get a lot of that in this game as well. Yeah. So speaking of extreme characters, the next song we're going to play is from Jim Power and the Lost Dimension 3D, composed by one of our favorite composers, Mr. Chris Huelsbeck. Mike, why'd you pick this one?
This game is completely underrated. This is one of the most underrated, undiscussed, untalked about games on the Super Nintendo.
Agreed.
It is originally an Amiga port of a game called, I believe it's called Jim Power and the Mutant Planet, if I recall. And it is an Amiga game, and I never grew up with an Amiga. The only reason why I found out about this game is, in all honesty, I saw the game at a game store that I had worked at years and years and years ago. And I was just like, what's this? I'm just gonna check it out. It's like $6. And what's crazy is it's still $6. If you go in any game store, you can pick this game up for dirt cheap. Here's the thing about this game. It has been designed with insane parallax scrolling. If you play the game when you first start off, your eyes are gonna like crisscross because you'll have like 5 or 6 different backgrounds just going at the same time and in opposite directions. The game originally released with 3D glasses. So you would put these glasses on, and they didn't work like those terrible...
I think they were polarized glasses,
yeah, they were polarized, right. So they were different than like 3D glasses. So you play this character, Jim Power, and I don't really know
and
too
he's
much
in the
about
Lost Dimension.
He's in the Lost Dimension.
And it's in 3D.
That's really all you need to know about the game, in all honesty. But this level, I've already played the intro in my, I think it was my Mike's Picks episode. I played the intro music, which is just keeps going and going. With this mutant forest level, which is stage 4 that we're about to play, this track it's just really rocking. Like, it's not like a beat, it's more like creepy crawly, sort of.
And it's like a faithful conversion to the Amiga sound.
I wanted to showcase the Super Nintendo version because it's also really good.
Yeah,
The
and being in the
music's
States
phenomenal.
where the Amiga was never
Right.
released, it's a good opportunity for us to get you guys to go out and try to find this game and
Right.
play it, because it is definitely worth a playthrough.
Definitely.
If you like, games like Contra, Conquer's
Yeah.
Heaven, stuff like that, it's a very run and gun, shoot 'em up, Turrican style game.
One thing about this game is you can't rush through it. If you rush through
Yeah.
the game, you're gonna die over and over and over and over again. It requires a lot of patience and dedication to be able to get far in the game. Seriously, like the first level alone, if you just try to blow through it like Contra, you will die instantly.
Because you need to grab those keys and get to the right
Right,
area
yeah,
and
you've got to
locks
collect these
disappear.
keys in order to open these doors and stuff like that. But just like the enemies, they appear out of nowhere, and so you've got to know where the enemies are going to be. It's more methodical, like Mega Man, because of that. And so everything requires memorization to know where you're going and what you're doing. Then later on in the game, it kind of changes things up. Like you'll be on a top-down level, kind of like Contra 3, where you're going through and you're shooting bad guys while rotating your character, Jim Power. And then there's other levels like flying levels and stuff where you're in like a ship, and it's really cool. There's a lot of variation on the game. So I could talk about this game forever, but you guys should really listen to this track. Check it out. Stage 4, Mutant Forest by Chris Huelsbeck from the game Jim Power and the Lost Dimension in 3D on the Super Nintendo.
Don't get dizzy. front. That whole game is so cool. Well, not the game itself so much. It's kind of a real-time strategy game, mostly in Japanese, kind of difficult to play, but I know over and over again throughout the course of the past year, when we've mentioned different composers and we've gone over games they've played, I'd be like, yeah, they did Hybrid Front. It has an excellent soundtrack, but I've never played a Hybrid Front song. So now you guys know that the soundtrack, I wasn't BSing you. It's really, really good soundtrack.
I really like the PCM samples.
Yeah.
On the audio.
Yeah, excellent use of the Genesis hardware.
Really cool.
Really kind of aggressive staccato beats. And it almost sounds like Mike was saying, it almost sounds like a Sonic game a little bit, but maybe a little bit more mature, darker version of a Sonic game.
Yeah, like I could picture this in like a Sonic 4 sort of thing, you know? Like if Sonic 4 existed.
Which was like taking place in like a post-apocalyptic future that wasn't the bright, happy post-apocalyptic future from Sonic CD.
And there actually was a Sonic 4, but you know.
We won't talk about that.
We won't talk about that.
No,
yeah.
no. So the Hybrid Front is a Mega Drive only Japanese release developed by Sega. Came out in 1994 and then was released on the Virtual Console again in Japan in 2007. It is a turn-based strategy game. It is about kind of a post-apocalyptic world where corporations have taken over and now these mega corporations are kind of warring against each other for control of
so it's a true
territory.
Story.
It's like WALL-E,
okay,
which is also a true story.
Still haven't seen that.
You haven't seen WALL-E?
No.
You owe it to yourself to go see WALL-E. It's one of my favorite Pixar movies, but digressing a lot.
We got kids.
True, yeah. No, Eddie especially, he watched WALL-E every single day for probably 3 months straight. And honestly, I did not get tired of it.
That's like me and my brother in Pocahontas.
Yeah. Don't poke your Hondas.
Dude.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know what I mean? Say no more.
Gross.
I know. I am gross. Anywho.
By the way, my name is Gross.
So, all stuff about weird post-apocalyptic phenomena aside, the Hybrid Front was composed by Naofumi Hataya, Junko Shiratsu, and Sachio Ogawa, all three of which have very kind of legendary stories from Sega. We've mentioned a lot of them in the past. Sachio Ogawa, known for Super Hang-On, Super Thunderblade, Virtua Fighter 4. He did music for Shenmue 2, Virtua Fighter 4, more recently Yakuza, Virtua Fighter 5, and Ryu ga Gotoku Inshin, which was obviously a Japanese-only release.
No.
Junko Shiratsu, she worked on Sonic Crackers, a Mega Drive version of Outrunners, Knuckles Chaotix, Panzer Dragoons Y, a lot of the J-League Pro Soccer Club games that only came out in Japan for the Dreamcast.
Wait a minute, did Sonic Crackers actually come out?
No, but the soundtrack is known.
Right.
And she did compose the music for it.
There was a puzzle game, wasn't it? Sonic Crackers?
I think that was the game that got turned into Knuckles Chaotix.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. She also worked on Daytona USA 2001, 100 Swords, which was pretty good, and then Sega Rally 2006, which had a lot of different composers on it. Naofumi Hataya, last but certainly not least, started off with Golden Axe 2 way back in 91, worked on Sonic CD, also worked on the Nights series. We mentioned him when we did Christmas Nights.
That's right, in the Winter Tracks episode.
Yeah, and also did Sonic Jam, Burning Ragers, Space Channel 5, and then a lot of Sonic games after that. So that Sonic sound that you heard during Hybrid Front, Mike is right on the money. A lot of these composers did have Sonic background and then Sonic going on in the future, so that influence is coming from those same composers. Cool thing about this game also is that the music used a lot of vocal samples from the PCM sampler, and it kind of added a lot to the music, gave it kind of a robotic, futuristic feel, kind of similar to like Contra Hardcore. And
Contra Hard Corpse, I think you meant.
No, I don't mean that at all.
Yes, I think that's what you meant.
I'll punch you in the core.
I'll corpse
and
your
I'll make
corpse.
you a corpse. Quit flipping tables again for the anniversary. This is the table anniversary flip. By the way, I'm table flip. So that was good. I don't have a lot of experience with that game. However, the next game I have a lot of experience with.
Yeah.
So the next game I'm gonna pick from is none other than Hyrule Warriors for the Wii U. Now we played a track from this on our Zelda episode,
Yes.
and I don't recall, we had like maybe one night's worth of gameplay experience with Hyrule Warriors when we did our Zelda episode, and Todd didn't have any experience with it at all.
I was still recovering from the overnight stay at the Nintendo World Store to pick up my limited edition.
Yes, that's right. And then we had a little playing party the night before that too. We got together and did some stuff.
Yeah, that was fun.
Now that we've got a little more experience with Hyrule Warriors, we don't need to talk about Masato Koike and Yuki Matsumura too much because they both worked on Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors. We talked about them during the Zelda episode.
Right.
So I want to go a little more about gameplay and a little bit more about the music and a little bit of the technical details behind the music to explain kind of how the Wii U works with the music in the game, which kind of plays into what the song you're going to hear coming up is all about. So, Hyrule Warriors, how far have you gotten in this one?
Well, I beat it.
Good.
Yeah, I finally beat it.
And did you beat it, or did you beat it?
Well, I mean, like, I beat the story mode, and I haven't gone back and played, like, the side story mode things that popped up, like Sia's quest or whatever.
Okay, so you didn't beat it.
No, I mean, I beat story mode, and I'm right now in the middle of working on adventure mode and unlocking some of the characters and stuff.
Okay.
I think I just unlocked Princess Ruto.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I don't know, like, adventure mode is... It seems too big for me. And there's all these other maps, and I'm like, I'm never gonna get to these maps. Like, as much as I love the game, I feel like I'm never gonna get to those maps.
Yeah, I am, I'm gonna say, about 95% of the way through adventure mode.
The regular map?
Yeah, the big map. And what you were talking about with Sia's quests before, those only pop up if you've purchased the DLC. The Twilight DLC.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, just a flat story mode where it breaks into 3 and then goes back into 1 at the end.
Right.
With Ganondorf's story.
But I paid for the
monthly pass.
The subscription.
Or all the DLC at once.
Yeah, basically at
$20.
once. The subscription.
Yeah, I did the same thing too.
Yeah.
I had already beat the story mode by the time I bought the DLC, so those Sia and Lana based stories just kind of appeared.
Lana!
Yeah. So, anyways, all together, all the kind of cohere into one big story. And then with adventure mode, I mean, I can kind of understand. You do play a lot of the same scenarios over and over again. Well, you don't play the same scenarios over and over again, but you play the same maps over and over again. But there are different scenarios within those maps and different characters that you play as. And there's a lot of leveling your character up and kind of grinding. And it takes almost kind of an RPG aspect on where you need to kind of beef your characters up enough to get your level 2 weapon and then your level 3 weapon and then unlocks and all that stuff. Me being a complete Dynasty Warriors junkie, just dove right in. There was no learning curve for me.
Yeah, there was definitely a learning curve for me.
Yeah, so I'm working on getting just the last few level 3 weapons, just kind of grinding out the last of my characters like Zant and some of the characters I don't use very often to get them beefy enough to get their level 3 weapons. And then after that, that's when you tackle like the Master Quest map, and then you tackle the Twilight map if you have that, because those are even more difficult than the Adventure Quest. So if you do plan on going through the Adventure mode, then wait till you finish the Adventure mode, or at least get most of your characters powered up enough before you start on the Master Quest and the Twilight. And then there's, I think, one more
Majora's Mask
coming out. The Majora's Mask levels are coming out. That's going to have another Adventure mode along with it as well. Yeah. So crazy stuff. It's going to keep so much content.
Did you download the Sia Nude Pack DLC?
You're just shocking me. She's practically nude though in some of those.
Yeah, that's that
for Nintendo. Right, it's very interesting, and the water fairy too, because one of
and Midna too. The grown-up Midna, adult Midna. Yeah. It's very not Nintendo.
Yeah, it's more along the lines of the Dynasty Warriors stuff. I think, like in Dynasty Warriors, there are a lot of very attractive characters,
right?
But they don't kind of exude that sexuality that a lot of the Hyrule Warriors characters do. Like that water fairy is like basically just moaning on the screen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, the N64 version of the Great Fairy is the exact same thing.
Right,
just
exactly.
Creepier because she's pointy everywhere.
Just a mess of triangles.
Just a mess of polygons.
The music in the game is utterly fantastic. It's rock and metal and sometimes even like techno and industrial versions of music that's been employed throughout the Zelda series and in all the eras. The song that I picked is from the Solidus Cave level, which is originally from Skyward Sword. So the way the music works in the game, if you haven't played it yet, or even if you haven't, might not have noticed, as you go through different areas in the map, depending on if you're in an enemy base or in a particular location on a map, the music will change. The instruments will get louder, or maybe an instrument will switch to a different instrument. What's happening is all the music files on the game's disc are like, they're 6-track audio. So like mainly the kind of technology that would be used for like surround sound, 5.1 surround. You're actually listening to a file that has 6 audio tracks, and the Wii U will mute the tracks that it's not using at the time and only use the 2 stereo tracks for whatever it is that you're playing.
Oh, really?
So when you get to a particular area, like in, for instance, Solidus Cave, when you go into the Crystal Caves area of Solidus Cave stage, it will fade out the original 2 tracks and bring up the 2 tracks for Solidus Cave. So due to people on the internet who hack and crack everything known to man, we've been able to extract these files off of the Wii disc and actually get the source files for all these songs. So instead of having to stand in Crystal Caves and listen to the cool music as opposed to the regular Solidus Caves music, you can actually hear the music, you know, from beginning to end. So what I've done using my audio talents is take a Solidus Cave, and similar to what I did with the Guiana Sisters track from Chris Huelsbeck way back in, was it the Mike's Picks episode?
Might have been. Or Scott's
Picks, the Scott's Picks episode.
Yeah.
So I took the main theme from Solidus Cave and the Crystal Caves theme from Solidus Cave, and I've kind of faded them in and out, similar to what the Wii U does when you're playing the game, but kind of highlighted the really cool parts of each of the songs. So in for instance, like the main theme in Solidus Cave, it's a horn section, the main melody. And then in Crystal Cave, when you go running through the Crystal Caves, you notice that those horns turn into overdriven guitars.
Right.
So I've kind of played with that concept and let you hear all the 2 aspects of the 2 different tracks. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And I'll do more stuff like this if you enjoy this kind of track. So let's listen to Hyrule Warriors Solidus Cave from Masato Koike and Yuki Matsumura on the Wii U. Enjoy.
the Late 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 Show. Put your hands together for your host, Max Salesman.
Welcome back, everybody. Tonight's guest is, I gotta tell you, he's one of my heroes. He's rescued Hyrule I don't know how many times. He saved the princess just as many times. He's quick with a sword and he's dashingly handsome to boot. Give it up for Link of Hyrule. So, Link, you've been pretty active lately. Hyrule Warriors, Smash Brothers, Majora's Mask 3D. Don't you ever get tired?
Yeah!
I bet you do. So Hyrule Warriors sees you teaming up with Zant, Garahim, Sia, and even Ganondorf to finish some levels. What was it like working side by side with people who've tried to kill you in the past?
Yeah!
Okay then. So I've heard you got a new game coming out for the Wii U. What's that all about? Can you give us any new details?
Yeah?
Alrighty. What a great guy, huh? We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Where the hell do we get these guests anyway? No wonder Colbert got picked over me. I should just go back to selling masks.
Hey, listen!
No, you listen, you annoying little fairy. You're the worst talent manager I've ever seen. You need to teach that green dynamo over there a few words of English. I don't even know what I'm doing here.
Welcome back. By the way, my name is Mike, and I'm here to talk to you about the track that we just played. So that track was from Perfect Dark for the N64. That is I guess you could say like a large collaboration of multiple tracks, all from the Carrington Institute level, where you play as Joanna Dark, the super sexy, super awesome spy, very similar to James Bond. I would say, honestly, the female equivalent to James Bond,
Yeah,
which is...
I'm sure she was patterned after him.
Oh, absolutely. And, Rare made GoldenEye, and then they went on to make Perfect Dark. Everybody loves GoldenEye. I'm not that big of a fan of GoldenEye. Honestly, I've played it, I like it, it's okay. I freaking love Perfect Dark. Seriously, I cannot stress how much I love Perfect Dark. The soundtrack, done by Grant Kirkhope. I've met him, I've talked to him. Really nice guy. He actually signed my copy of Perfect Dark, which is the exact same copy I've had since high school, and I still have the copy today. I've got 3 days, not 3 hours, 3 days in playtime.
Wow.
On just the multiplayer. I played this game all the time with my friends back in high school. Yeah, I was probably like a junior or senior around that time of high school, and this is all we played. We played this, we played Attitude, WWF Attitude, and we played Smash Brothers.
This was one of the first games that really demanded use of the expansion pack.
That's true.
Too, for the extra RAM.
That and Donkey Kong 64.
Yep, and that it really kind of came through on the N64. You did notice that the textures were much sharper.
Right.
The frame rate was pretty good. And the cinematics at the beginning, like you could tell, it really was impressive as compared to previous stuff that had come out on the N64.
Even like hearing voice acting, like very clear voice acting coming out of an N64, I was just blown away.
Yeah.
I thought it was very cinematic and the story was great. Basically, you play as this Joanna Dark, this super ultra awesome spy, and she is basically infiltrating this building to get this doctor back, and you end up finding out that the doctor is actually a computer.
Yeah.
It's in a laptop, and so you grab it and then you run out and you leave. So the whole game you're just uncovering all these like aliens and stuff, and you're infiltrating all these different buildings. Very similar to GoldenEye in the sense that you're basically like an infiltration sort of thing.
Yeah.
You have missions depending on what you pick, like agent or secret, ultra agent or whatever. I never really went that much into like the super agent or ultra agent or whatever it was called, just because I played through the story mode. I was like, all right, that was cool. I really enjoyed it. But the multiplayer, where you could like take the music from the levels, and you could take the separate parts of it and put it all in the multiplayer. So you would have these tracks, like for example, the track we just played, you'll notice that every track on the soundtrack comes with 3 different parts, and they're all kind of joined together on the actual physical soundtrack. But when you're playing through the game, it doesn't really work like that. It's more like this is the level, and when things start getting hairy, when you're facing off against these bad guys, like if you get caught or
when Joanna Dark forgets to shave.
Right. Wait, what?
Things get hairy.
Oh, yeah. You end up in tight situations where you have to, just basically like blow through like all these bad guys to be able to progress. And so I thought that it was really cool that the music kept the same like theme and motif throughout the level, but you would just have these awesome like drum synth hits that would just like very much similar to GoldenEye, where you'd have really strong, powerful drums, and then you just hear like these like dun dun dun, like these like big synth hits. Those parts of the soundtrack were always really cool. So what I did was when I played the multiplayer, I took those parts that were like really fast songs and high upbeat, high energy songs. I took those and put them in the multiplayer. And I did the same thing when the game got re-released on the 360, which they did a phenomenal job giving it a big graphical boost without compromising the music, which is really cool. And so playing through this game multiplayer, all the tracks that I picked were all like really crazy, fast, upbeat, like levels of music. So yeah,
Sweet.
I could seriously sit here and
talk about it all day.
Yeah, no, seriously. Love Perfect Dark.
What's funny is that originally Graham Norgate was going to work on Perfect Dark.
Right.
But he had left Rare to work at Free Radical, so that pretty much left Robin Beanland and Grant Kirkhope, aside from Dave Wise as the audio people. So they put Robin Beanland went to go work on Jet Force Gemini.
Such a good game.
Yeah, and because Grant Kirkhope had worked with the team that made GoldenEye, they pegged him to go work on Perfect Dark. So
he was familiar with the team and the whole atmosphere of those types of
and his
Bond
kind of
type games.
More like rock techno style kind of fit more with the futuristic aesthetic that Perfect Dark had. So they got him to do the gameplay sequence music, and Dave Klinick did the cinematics, or like symphonic style music that you hear throughout the game.
Right.
So it's kind of funny. You wonder like how the soundtrack would have been had Graham Norgate ended up working on the game. I don't think it would have been as memorable as what Kirkhope came up with.
I agree. I just think that the soundtrack is perfect all around. Every level captures the feel and the infiltration feelings that you get when you're going through the levels and everything. Like when you're going through the Chicago level. And it's very like rainy and dark and muddy. And one other thing I want to mention about the game, which doesn't really have to do with the music, but the sound effects specifically. Hearing all the bad guys like shout out stuff when you kill them, that like kind of freaked me out when I was young.
It gave a more kind of realistic feel to
like it made you realize like, oh my god, I'm killing somebody. Like I had never really felt that in a video game before, because the worst you'd hear is ARG. You know what I mean? Like in a like 8-bit game or 16-bit game, or like whoo.
Well, I think they were kind of taking a page from. They were taking a page from id Software, or like Wolfenstein, where when you would kill the Nazi soldiers, they'd be like, "Come on, Lieben," and all that crazy stuff.
But like to hear a character say, "I don't want to die" when you shoot them in the face, and then proceed to continue shooting them in the back of the head. And the funny thing about Perfect Dark, when I played with multiplayer, when I played with friends, which I have to get all this out now because I know I'm never going to talk about the game like this if I ever review it, is if I'm shooting somebody that I'm playing in multiplayer, if they die, when their body dropped, if I was close to them, I would run up to them and I would aim the camera down with the C buttons, and then I would just keep shooting their head, and their head would flop around like a dead fish. It was the funniest thing.
You're a terrible person,
I am
Michael.
a terrible human being. By the way, my name is Mike.
By the way. If you want to see a more personal side of Grant Kirkhope, if you look up the Game Grumps series on YouTube, he actually did a guest appearance on the show and played through. Yeah, he played through some of his games. He played Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, and Donkey Kong 64.
Oh, that's really cool.
The Go-Raptor, and kind of talked about the game and did almost like a developer's commentary.
I would seriously watch that if I didn't dislike Game Grumps.
Sorry.
But no, I think
Maybe
I
you'll
might
tolerate them.
I think I would actually check that out just to hear Grant Kirkhope
I like
talk
Game
about
Grumps.
games.
I think they're funny. So, very cool stuff. He worked on Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning for the
That was
PC.
his most recent.
That was a Studio 38 game, Kurt Schilling's company, that's been in the news quite a bit lately about bankruptcy and fallout and all that kind of stuff. But anyways,
All right, so the next game is going to be Pa-Rappa the Rappa 2. Oh my god.
Kick punch, it's all in the mind.
Well, that's the first game.
Yeah, but it's the series.
Yeah.
When I think of Parappa, I think of that line in particular. I don't know, it's just the lyric that the first game starts off with, and it's kind of like the mantra for the whole series.
Well, the song that we're going to be playing is called Noodles Can't Be Beat. And let me tell you, that little slippery thing goes down so good.
This game is full of very kind of vague innuendos.
Yeah. Slurp it, suck it. I know you all like it.
Yeah.
Smell it, taste it.
Noodles, man.
Pasta in the market.
Noodles are delicious. Everybody likes noodles.
This game is so ridiculous. So the game has a 2-player mode that I used to play pretty frequently with friends. And so we would sit down, and the scoring on the 2-player mode I don't think actually makes sense at all. It's basically like if you can make something finish so that you're not like overlapping stuff, then you're doing well. But basically what the 2-player mode was like is you'd be playing, you pick a level, and they would play through, like they would take fragments of the songs and you would have to play them back by pressing the buttons. It's a rhythm music-based game if you have no idea what Pa-Rappa
really kind of kicked off the whole rhythm game fanaticism that followed
DDR,
afterwards.
Guitaro Freak or whatever.
Guitaro Man.
Yep.
Oh, well, Guitar Freak was
Right.
the Japanese
Was Japanese.
precursor to Guitar Hero.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, so for a rhythm music-based game, it took rap music and really just put the music back in rap music, I would say. You know, all these songs are really funky, really just awesome bass lines and grooves to them. Very awesome music. So anyways, getting back to the 2-player mode, I don't really think there's like a legit way to score, but somehow you end up winning or losing, and it's just based on like your rap skills, quote unquote.
You can kind of freestyle in multiplayer, which is the same thing that you could do on your second playthrough of the game, over the any game. You know, so in the first playthrough of the game, you really have to match the buttons that are on the screen as they come down the line. Your second time through, you can kind of like remix your own songs, and as long as your button presses are on the beat and you're using the same buttons that they're telling you to press, you can kind of do whatever you want and usually end up with a good score.
And that's kind of how they grade you. But the really funny thing is sometimes they'll come up with stuff that you'll just repeat over and over again, and it's like the funniest thing. For this song in particular, when one of the guys goes, "Sushi burgers, they all taste good," one of our friends just kept pressing burgers.
Just kept spamming the burger button.
But he would be like, burgers, 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 like he did, and we called it the burger breakdown. And so anytime we play the game, there's like a couple choice songs that we would need to pick from, and the burger breakdown was always part of that. And there was the one where if you played as the level, I think it's like a beetle. Like a beetle, or I don't know, I remember a sand beetle, I have no idea. But he's basically in this like Jamaican type robes sort of thing, and you're in space and stuff, and you're getting like big and bigger and stuff. But the funniest part is if you press the wrong button, he says scared. I don't know why, it sounds like he says scared. So you'll be pressing the button and he's just like, all of a sudden he'll be like, scared. It's like, it's the weirdest thing. So yeah, Pa-Rappa the Rappa 2, I have some fun memories of playing that game with friends. It was one of those PS2 games. It was one of the first PS2 games I got, that and Shattered Soldier.
Yeah.
I had loved the first
Play him to death. I like Jammer Lammy a little bit more.
Yeah.
I just think because it's based on rock. I felt a little more in touch with it.
Yeah.
But equally fun. I mean, all three games are
they're all
blast
great.
to play through. Pa-Rappa the Rapper, the whole series was the brainchild of Masaya Matsuura and animator Rodney Greenblatt. Matsuura had a career as a musician in the band Psy S in Japan. They were a J-pop band.
Okay.
And they went on for like 4 or 5 years before Matsuura eventually ended up quitting to start working on multimedia projects with his studio Nana Onsha. And so at that point, he got together with Greenblatt. Greenblatt produced that kind of iconic 2D art in a 3D world aspect that Parappa.
Yeah, the art is
very,
crazy.
very unique, very, very recognizable. And so, from then on, he started just doing rhythm games. Parappa the Rapper took off, so they did three in that one. He made Vib Ribbon, which I played very, very early on when I modded my PlayStation. It was one of the smallest files you can download for, if you're downloading game images online. I tried out Vib Ribbon and absolutely loved it. That's another rhythm-based game.
Okay.
And then he made some other games in the Vib Ribbon series after that. And then to this day, he's still working on stuff. His most recent game was in 2012. He did Haunt for the Xbox. But then he's also worked on some Tamagotchi games. Mojib Ribbon and Vib Ripple were the two games that came after Vib Ribbon, all kind of based on the same deal. And then he's worked on a lot of other, he's worked with a lot of other up-and-coming rappers and just local New York talent with the different songs from Parappa and Jammer.
All right. Well,
so why don't we start slurping some noodles?
That
so much
little
fun.
slippery thing tastes so good.
I'm gonna go get a burger. Burger. Enjoy Parappa the Rapper 2.
Noodles can't be beat.
Noodles can't be beat.
You know it.
From Masaya Matsura.
Yeah, we're gonna bring it down like this, y'all. I'm gonna let my man Parappa know that noodles rule the world. Yeah, that little slippery thing tastes so good all the time. Yeah, that's right. It goes a little something like this. Stay with me now, here we go. Like this. In parentheses, let me stress the fact clearly. No matter what the deal, I crave for this dearly. The so-called noodles that you find in spaghetti are sweeter than idols, do damage like machetes. Without a doubt, I got the flow coming at July. Bring the place alive every single day I jive. With the thought comes my direct actions. Ask my followers, they'll say it's an addiction. Slurp it, suck it, I know you all like it. Slurp it, suck it, I know we all like it. Smell it, taste it, pasta in the market. Smell it, taste it, fruit in a basket. Chinese, Italian, Thai, or Jamaican. Mexican, Egyptian, English, Korean. Anything goes, even Hawaiian. Anything goes, even Alaskan. Long and chewy, occasionally gooey. The best things in life taste good, we'll chop suey. 8 minutes to boil and 2 minutes to eat. Admit it, kid, noodles can't be beat.
What's going on? What happened?
Roll it on your spoon, create your own boom. Roll it on my spoon, create my own boom. I bet you didn't know noodles the rule. I bet you didn't know there are no rules. Sushi, burgers, they all taste good. Pizza, burritos, they all taste good. As long as they got noodles, the king of all food. As long as they love food, then anything's cool. Hip-hop music with an old school twist. I keep the place intact, I do a rap like this. You can use a spoon, fork, knife, or even chopsticks. Come on, kid, get down with the mix. N-O-O-D-L-E-S C-O-O-K-I-E-S. Great tasting pasta, blow to your chest. Great tasting sweets, blow to my chest. Ramen, udon, soba, you name it. Brownies, a pie, a shake, you name it. Any type of noodles you like, yes, I got it. Any type of sweets you like, yes, I got it. Whatever your thoughts may be, I'm bound to be the king of all foods with my noodles as the key. Full of pride and glory, way up above. Cause here I come, y'all, full of noodles and love. Noodles are the best, no doubt, can't deny. Taste better than water, but don't ask me why. Noodles are the best, no doubt, can't deny. Taste better than water, but don't ask you why. But then again, many things can be tasty. Cornbread, potatoes, rice, and even pastries. But then again, many things can be tasty. Cornbread, potatoes, rice, and even pastries. Then why do I love noodles so dearly? It makes no sense, I must have sounded really eerie. Then why do you love noodles so dearly? It makes no sense, you must have sounded real eerie. Thanks, brother, for letting me understand that a man must understand to keep his options open. Welcome, brother, for letting you understand that a man must understand to keep his options open. See? Noodles aren't the only food around, you know. Yeah, you're right. I'm up for some noodle sushi.
Welcome back. That was Tim Fallon with Ford Racing 3 for the PS2 and the Xbox, and that was Race Theme 1. I don't know anybody who likes Tim Fallon.
No. No, not at all.
No.
Again, it's free pick episode, so
True.
I've gotta get a Tim Fallon track in there somehow.
Dat.
You know, I'm surprised at how little I've played Tim Fallon. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised that other people have played Tim Fallon for me as guests on this show as well, which is very nice. I don't know, I guess I'm kind of holding back because I want to do a whole episode on him eventually, and I don't want to like blow it all out at once, so I don't have anything left to play. I want to save a lot of the real good stuff for a spotlight episode.
Why do you think I really haven't played that much Mega Man?
Yeah, we'll get to a Mega Man episode eventually.
Yeah.
And I put it on the Facebook group for people to, kind of talk about their favorite memories of the last year of PixelTunes Radio.
That's true.
And our buddy Cameron said anytime we talk about Mega Man, it's his favorite moment on the show, so...
That and you being a
rabid Metroid fan. Yeah, because I was talking yesterday online about how I was not a Metroid fan.
Yes.
Because I misquoted the introductory phrase from the Super Nintendo Super Metroid game.
What did you say? The
we were talking about samples in like Genesis games and how like the SNES does clearer samples than the Genesis does. Mm-hmm. And I said something like the last sample was in captivity, the universe is at peace instead of the galaxy is at peace.
Right.
And Cam was like, oh my god. He flipped out.
Yeah.
So I was like, hashtag not a Metroid fan.
Did you say right afterwards, by the way, my name is Samus Aran?
I did not, but I could have.
See, that would have saved you right there.
If I had foresight to look into the future and knew that you would harp on this through the entire show, I probably would have done it.
Oh boy. So who else mentioned? Let's see, we got Aaron Hickman, who really enjoyed our Words Be Gone episode.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring
or commercial.
We're gonna have to bring Ryu Hayabusa back.
Yeah,
I feel like
he's been gone for a while.
I feel like building him up into a regular character. We'll have him guest star once. We'll be like, hello. Today we're playing all Ninja Gaiden games.
There you go. And also, of course, he said that he was very fond of episode 1, and when we said
Alan Yap.
Yeah. Alan Yap.
Alan Yap.
Yeah.
The anagram.
Which is the anagram for what we actually said. Yeah, I don't know. I you know what it was is, so nowadays when Ed and I record, we will talk a little bit about beforehand what we're going to talk about usually. And in the first episode, I don't think we did that.
We were such noobs at that point.
And I think I didn't really realize that this was going to be a somewhat family-friendly show. Somewhat. I mean, I think we allude to things a lot more now than before. So we didn't really have that discussion. So I was kind of like, hey, how about, what was it? What was the anagram?
Alan Yap.
Alan Yap. How about Alan Yap? Let's talk about Alan Yap. So... Everyone's like, what are you talking about? I never heard that in episode 1.
If you guys are wondering, go join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/PixelTunes Radio.
Yes.
Take a look probably 2 weeks back and you'll see a thread between us and Aaron and Cameron all talking about anagrams. Or even just listen to a little bit after our Donkey Kong Country song on episode 1. Which you should have listened to by now if you're a PixelTunes Radio fan.
Yes.
And you'll hear exactly what we're talking about. Now that we're on a family-friendly network, we can't really talk too much about that stuff. But anyways, yeah. So what was your favorite PixelTunes Radio episode or favorite memory over the past year?
There's been a lot. There really has. I mean, I really like the fact that I was able to do like a Mike's Picks episode where I just like ranted and raved about like my past history with video games and video game music and, pick some of my favorite tracks. So that was a really cool episode for me. I really enjoyed the Shoot 'em Ups episode.
That was one of my favorites too.
Because I discovered like so many games that I wanted to play and soundtracks that I listened to. And even like nowadays, like, did we play Steel Empire? I can't remember. I think we did.
That wasn't on that one.
That wasn't? No. Okay. I would say that my tastes or variety has changed a bit since doing the show because I discovered new games that I wanted to play by listening to music. So I can't really pick like a single episode that I really like was over the moon about, other than, obviously the Mike's Picks episode, because those are all my favorite. But I really enjoyed the Contra episode. I really enjoyed the RPG battle episode. That was a lot of fun to do. It's been a fun year, and I think that, this coming year is going to be even more fun with more special guests. We plan on having more people on the show, and we're planning on doing a bunch more with the commercials and whatnot. Try to change things up, keep it fresh, keep it live.
Totally. I guess I have a lot of favorite moments, but I guess in terms of my favorite episodes, I also really enjoyed the Shoot 'em Ups episode.
Yeah.
Because I got to share a lot of the music that I grew up with. I mean, I basically grew up listening to shmup soundtracks. Those are my favorite genre of soundtrack to listen to. I also really like the Contra episode.
Yeah.
There's tons of good music in that game that really fits the style of music that I enjoy.
Definitely.
We got to explore and just the educational aspect that we learn a lot about the games just by researching them before we do podcasts on them.
Exactly.
I also really appreciate and value all the friendships that we've made both online and personally since we've started doing it. We talk with Aaron Hickman all the time now online. He's a great buddy of ours.
Yeah.
And Matt Ezra, who's taken notice of our show and really enjoys it. You kind of knew him a little bit from Dude, You Have to Play This Game.
Yeah.
But now, we talk back and forth, and we'd love to have him as a guest sometime soon. So hopefully we can hook something up.
We'll be in talks with him. We'll be talking to him in the future about definitely getting some time to pencil him in. I'm sure he's very busy with reviews and real life and whatnot. But I think we're going to have a lot of special guests on in the near future, so that'll be really cool.
All these people that are into video games and like a lot of the same stuff that we do, it's nice to be able to reach out and communicate with you guys. So.
Yeah, it's just cool. It's cool that we were able to talk to you guys, and share some of these tracks both locally and online, even if you're not in our backyard, so to speak, here in the ye old land of Connecticut. It's still really cool that we're able to share these tracks and kind of share some of this music that we've discovered or have always loved. And so that's one of the really cool things about this podcast is we're able to not only share the tracks but also learn about tracks from people. So
exactly.
Yep.
We're hoping for another full year of awesome video game music.
Yeah, that's if you don't get sick of me.
I'm already sick of you, but I'm still getting through it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just an arduous task every week to come, or every other week. I gotta go to Mike's house and record PixelTunes again.
Oh, God. My name is Ed.
My name is Ed. I hate my life.
By the way,
my name is Ed. Circling way back to Ford Racing 3, this is probably one of the least known series that Tim Fallon has worked on. He contributed just a couple tracks here and there to these two games. Also had some relatively not great versions of these songs coming out on the DS ports of these games as well. But the games themselves are actually really, really good. I was surprised coming from like Empire and 2K Games, who at that point weren't making really top-notch quality stuff. But very high resolution graphics, excellent frame rate. The driving physics were very well done. Mm-hmm. I just kind of recently discovered them after learning that Tim Fallon's music was in them, so it's kind of like a reverse. Wanted to play it because of the soundtrack instead of discovering the soundtrack through the game.
Yeah.
So they're extremely cheap to pick up if you have a local retro game shop near you. Check out Ford Racing 2 and 3. I think you'll really enjoy it if you like just casual sit down and play driving games. There's a lot of good content in them. Track is just a balls to the wall. Tim Fallon,
Deep Purple
70s rock track.
Deep Purple, exactly. Kansas style track, progressive.
It's just pure Tim Fallon doing what he's always wanted to do and doing what he does best. Working kind of freely outside the reins of any specific theme and grinding through some awesome rock. So thank you, Mr. Fallon, again for providing us with awesome audio and stuff. What's some audio stuff for my ears?
Is there a game that you've gotten into that I picked a song from in the past year that you've either heard the soundtrack or played the game and was like, I'm going to check that out?
Shovel Knight.
Oh, yeah?
Immediately comes to mind. I'm sure there have been others, but I probably wouldn't have given it the time of day. Mm-hmm. I know I've heard good things about it, but I'm like, oh, right, whatever. I actually just very recently bought it because it was went down from $15 to $10 on sale on the Wii U.
Right.
And I got some eShop money for Christmas. So I was like, yeah, I'll check this out. And yeah, really, really super impressed.
Yeah, told you.
I was kind of a fan of the soundtrack. I made my own version of it, put it online, but didn't have the game to kind of associate with the music. Mm-hmm. And now after hearing the music with the game, it's really kind of grown my love for both the game and the soundtrack at the same time. So, so I'll ask you the reverse question. Anything that I've talked about that you've gotten into?
Let me think. Shooters. A lot of shooters.
Good. I'm glad, man, because that's a genre that you need to explore.
Thunder Force series.
Biometal?
Not Biometal, because I knew about Biometal. No, I'm trying to think. There's been a lot of tracks that you've picked, like Choren Shah, and like a lot of like really obscure stuff that I've thrown on my MP3 player, but I still haven't played the actual games, unfortunately, because we don't have the hardware really. Rusty. I really want I just, you know how I am with emulators. I'm not a big fan of using emulators, so like I really would love to own a PC 88 or 98 or whatever to be able to play Rusty, because I think that I would really have a lot of fun with it, and I think it's the only game that at this point I'm like, I guess I'll emulate this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that that's the only way you can really do it. And speaking of which, the X68000 episode, also one of my favorites. But man, the amount of research I put into that episode was just physically exhausting. After we finally got that episode in the can, it felt like a big weight had been lifted off of my shoulders, because I just poured my heart and soul to that episode, and I'm glad we were able to give a good kind of tribute to that awesome system. But at the same time, man, that's kind of why I'm holding off on a PC 98 or PC 88 episode, because I just want
a lot of research.
Yeah, I want to recover from that X68000 episode.
I'd say that the most difficult episode we ever had, I would say, would so far in this last year, would probably be the first time that we did a collaboration with
the Player's Choice.
Yeah,
Corey and Keaton were excellent guests. We had some great music, but there were a lot of technical issues that kind of plagued that.
Which was all like behind the scenes stuff that we just, editing wise, it was a real pain. And it was also our first time editing something like that together.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a challenge, but I think overall we were able to overcome it, and we were able to put the episode out, which honestly I really didn't think it was going to happen. But
we worked some magic, some audio magic.
Yeah,
and it didn't sound 100% perfect, but everything was audible, so we were happy about that.
Exactly. Who's your favorite guest?
Oh, I don't want to pick a favorite guest, man, because I know that people are going to be like, why didn't you pick me? I liked everybody that's been on. I mean, Brian had excellent tracks.
Yeah.
He was really funny, and he was able to do like some awesome voiceovers for our commercial.
Right.
Scott really has kind of an excellent knowledge of the racing games, and even the tracks that he picked, like the Great Gianna Sisters, I really wasn't very familiar with that.
Yeah.
Todd is just kind of a consummate video game music podcast listener already.
Right.
So he kind of knows the ins and outs of how to explain a game succinctly and kind of in a way that really makes it understandable.
Yeah.
So
he's very much grown too, as far as like if you compare episode 3 when we had Todd on
it was
with the other
quiet
episodes.
And kind of reserved.
Yeah, and he's definitely like really funny, and he's a super nice guy, and it was a lot of fun recording the Zelda episode with him. We'll talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing with Todd in the future.
Yeah. And then Aaron, of course, is podcast extraordinaire.
Oh,
so, the music he picked from unreleased games, he brought a lot of knowledge to the table.
Yeah.
We were really able to
That's true.
Work on with us.
Very knowledgeable.
And then Nico, of course, picked like 10 amazing tracks that I had never heard of before. And now
played those
I'm listening to those soundtracks regularly now.
Yeah,
I got to say that there's awesome stuff about every single guest
That's true.
we've ever had on. So, look forward to more awesome guests, some repeats from guests we've had in the past. Todd, we just mentioned, will be on our Metroid episode in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that.
We're doing a Metroid retrospective, which will tie in with I guess I can just announce it now, a future episode of Dude, You Haven't Played This Game. By the way, my name is Flip.
You need to stop with that.
I don't think I can. I think I've broken myself.
Yeah, I know. You're going to end up like for the rest of the week, your girlfriend's going to be like, I know your name is Mike. What are you talking about?
I know your name is Flip.
Anyways, thanks for sticking with us through this long and amazing break. But we wanted to, give our respects to everybody who's, helped us and helped us grow and gave us the power to get through a year and the will to get through another year and bring you lots of awesome VGM and skits and commercials and whatever else we end up doing throughout the year. Pies. PixelTunes Pies.
PixelTunes Pies.
Pixel Pie Radio.
Do you think that people would like pies if we served pies with, like, PixelTunes Radio?
That's what our Facebook group is for. Guys, facebook.com/groups/PixelTunes Radio. Come join us if you're not on the group. There's tons of great discussion. You can, ask more questions. We're thinking about possibly doing a requests episode in the future. You're going to need to be a member of the group if you have a great idea for a song. Possibly even get your voice or something that you've written. We'll talk about it on the podcast. So more details for that kind of a show will be coming up in the future, but you got to be a member of the group in order to find out about it. So
join us if you're listening right now and you haven't joined the group yet. Go join it. It's not the page.
Well, the page is going to be just something out there. We're going to announce all the new episodes. We've got about 300 members on there, some of which are more active than others.
Right.
But we will be updating that with new posts for new episodes.
That is correct.
But the group is going to be for sharing with listeners
stuff.
and having listeners share with us, and really just talking about video games and video game music as a big whole.
Just being funny and silly and posting cool stuff.
Yeah.
And talking about video game music.
Guys like Scott and Aaron, who have been guests on our show, have been regularly posting new content and cool stuff that they've found. So, really come and join us and hang out with us on the group page.
Don't forget about youtube.com/dongled, where you can watch not only Dude You Haven't Played This Game reviews, but also PixelTunes Radio. Also,
other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff.
Stuff that you've liked.
Yeah,
they can go check that stuff out too.
And also, PixelTunesRadio.com is the website to be at for all your PixelTunes radio needs.
Absolutely. And also on Twitter, we are at PixelTunes Radio. You can come tweet with us and respond to us there. Love hanging out with you guys. We also announce new episodes there as well.
That's going to do it for us. Thank you again for the past year. It's been truly a pleasure. And we
look forward for years to come.
Yes.
Of PTR.
This is PixelTunes Radio signing off. And by the way, my name is Mike.
By the way, my name is Ed. See you in 2 weeks, guys.
See ya.